Welcome back to the channel. My name is Timothy. On the channel speak everything personal finance. And today we're going to react to a video talking about McMansions. And to me personally, do you even need a house this big? And why are so many popping up? And just the build of these houses are not great. So let's just see what they're talking about. McMansions. I guess everyone's getting a McMansion nowadays. Comment down below if you have a McMansion or if you know someone else that's a McMansion. And let's see what they're actually talking about.
Probably seen a version of one in an American suburb.
It's not a style of house. It can be Tudor one day, farmhouse the next day.
It's over 3,000 square feet. It's usually in the suburbs, and it's usually done in kind of a
Over 3,000 square feet. Now, I grew up in two different kind of houses. When I was younger, we grew up in a small house, but towards high school, I grew up in a 2,500, maybe 3,000 square foot house. And to be honest, I was barely in my room. And yeah, my sister was in a room, but we also had a guest room that was barely used. And we had the basement where my stepbrother was. So mostly everyone was kind of spread out. We had two rooms that weren't used. We had an extra living room and a fancy formal dining room that was not used unless it's for Thanksgiving. And even then, it was still not used very often. So 3,000 square feet is huge, and a lot of people don't need something like that. But I think that we have these houses built here, and we assume that we need to fill them. We need to live in something like this. I mean, you go to other countries, you're not going to see houses that are 3,000, 4,000 square feet. They're living in something way smaller than us and still making it work. So 3,000 square feet is so much. I mean, it's so much unused space that's going to be used in the house. And you're going to be paying for all the bills, for all the electricity, the air conditioning going everywhere, and the water bill is going to be super high. So I mean, I don't know if it's much about finances, but we're talking about McMansions. But 3,000 square feet is huge.
a slap shot way. So a big house that maybe is, for lack of a better word, a little bit tacky.
Despite their at times poor reputation, they've never really gone away.
These are the houses that I sell most often. I was just in a bidding war of this exact type of.
That's the house right there. That is the house right there that I used to want, honestly, until I learned more about finances and just using space. And I know that I would not use that entire space. I want two kids. I'm okay with one, but I kind of want two. And we don't need a house that big. It's just so much unused space. And just the cost of something like that is so unnecessary for us, especially if you don't need that much space. But that is the typical house that you see. You're like, wow, that's such a nice house. I want something like that.
House.
And it's part of a larger trend. Home sizes in the US increased more than 20% between 1993 and 2023,
That's
while
crazy.
household sizes have decreased.
The McMansion didn't really go away. It's just that we started viewing housing in a different way.
People are making money on McMansions, but are they making as much money as they could have made on a different type of home for the same price point? And that's sort of a different question.
So how did McMansions become so popular?
That's a mansion.
And if they are
right there.
considered a bad investment, why do Americans keep buying them? McMansions first appeared in American suburbs in the 1980s. Middle-class families wanted bigger homes, and McMansions were the answer, a slice of the American dream. So they were produced en masse, and cheaply. A couple of factors played a big part in their rise. The first was the deregulation of the mortgage industry. New laws passed in the 80s that allowed banks to make some risky financial moves, like allowing adjustable rate mortgages, or mortgages with interest rates that are
Adjustable rate mortgages are crazy. I just saw someone in Reddit, and they had mentioned they had an adjustable rate mortgage, and back then, a few years ago, it's very cheap. Now their mortgage rate is like, I think 5 or 6%, and their payment jumped like $1,000 or $1,500, and they're like, yo, we're in a hole right now. So adjustable rate mortgages are definitely risky. I don't know why people would do them. I just like a fixed rate. And if it's not the rate you want time, then don't buy. But also don't get married to the rate, because you can always refinance down the road. But you don't want to rely on that, because what if you're not able to refinance? What if the rates don't change as much as you thought they would? So I just like to stick to a fixed rate mortgage. We got this house at a 2.75 and the rental is at like a 7%.
variable, shifting the risk from the lender to the borrower. Borrowers who couldn't qualify for the traditional mortgages were able to get ARMs.
The adjustable rate mortgage really changed how people viewed home buying in America. And in fact, there was a lot of pushback against the adjustable rate mortgage because people thought it was a scam.
It was also a time when wages were growing rapidly, and the inequality gap was widening. Big homes were a way for people to show off.
Because if you're seeing, I can have a 4,500 square foot home with, 5% down, and I can get this mortgage that I'm not really qualified for, and people jump on that.
In doing a simple
Never buy a home to impress people. Get a home that works for you. Be ready for when the property taxes go up, when the insurance goes up. All these different things will go up, especially when buying these big homes. Things are going to cost more. Utilities, maintenance, water bills, everything's going to cost more. So just really think about it before you go and buy a home that you don't really need, especially something so big and expensive.
Google search, you'll find many different types of McMansions. One common theme beyond size is often the number of
That's
amenities.
the house.
A gym,
1,000.
a bar, a large entertainment room,
What was that?
different types of McMansions. One common theme beyond size.
How much is that? 100,000. There's no way that's 100,000. That's crazy. I mean, that might be in like middle of nowhere, Texas, but God, that's a big house.
Is often the number of amenities. A gym, a bar, a large entertainment room, a basement. The list goes on.
That
Dang,
amenity-driven
that's crazy.
plan, that is a specific type of plan. That is what the McMansion really is. There's just so much space, and it's hard to integrate it under one roof.
And many
It's crazy. Like, I might say all this, but if I could really afford it, like, comfortably, I would probably go for something like that. It's just so nice. It's so nice. It looks so nice. But if you're, you're teetering or finances aren't too great, there's no need for you to get something this big.
were built with cheap materials,
It's nice, though. Like, it looks nice, at least.
like new lumber, or mass-produced stucco, fake stone veneer, or vinyl siding. Also a result of the new technological developments in building in the 20th century. In 2007, the median price of a McMansion was about $520,000.
That's crazy.
They accounted for 15% of all suburban homes at that time.
It seemed like a really good investment. Like, great, I can have this big house and I can afford it, and I'll be able to resell it for more than I paid for it. And to a large extent, that is true.
The American financial system is rocked to its foundation as top Wall Street institutions topple under a mountain of debt.
The abundance of subprime mortgages and low interest rates came to a screeching halt in September 2007. As interest rates rose, many borrowers couldn't afford their higher monthly payments, and therefore defaulted on their loans. In some cases, homeowners blamed
The American financial system.
I was trying to understand what happened in the Great Recession and why it was bad. I think a lot of people I think the biggest thing was a lot of people lost their jobs. And then everything else just toppled over from there.
Is rocked to its foundation as top Wall Street institutions topple under a mountain of debt.
The abundance of subprime mortgages and low interest rates came to a screeching halt in September 2007. As interest rates rose, many borrowers couldn't afford their higher monthly payments, and therefore defaulted on their loans. In some cases, homeowners owed more than their homes were worth, which led to...
So were they giving out arms or something? Like the interest rate rose and people can't afford it now? What was your interest rate when you first got it? I don't know. I didn't have to go through the Great Depression. I didn't have to go through the collapse of the economy. But what happened? Comment that down below exactly what happened in 2007, 2008.
to widespread foreclosures and a bankruptcy crisis.
Until home prices stop falling, things just aren't going to get any better.
Home building activity declined sharply, creating a significant gap between supply and demand that led to a housing shortage. McMansions gained a reputation for being a bad investment.
This house looks like it was designed by someone who maybe saw a house once in their life, but either had some sort of visual issues or was wearing kaleidoscope glasses that you get during Halloween.
And instead of buying McMansions, Americans downsized or got into home improvement.
They wanted to conserve on gas bills, water bills, air conditioning, all of their utilities. They felt like they only needed maybe a smaller home, a ranch, something practical. That was a very, very short-lived notion.
Buyers eventually came around. According to Realtor.com, McMansions represented up to a quarter of all home sales in the years leading up to the pandemic. The trend accelerated in the years since. Yet it's become harder to afford a home than ever before. Mortgage rates in 2025 will likely remain high, while home prices have skyrocketed. Construction costs have inflated too. Building a home is incredibly pricey. Prices are expected to rise even more, with potential tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. And that's helped McMansions.
They are becoming the choice of first-time home buyers who don't want a 1960s.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing that a lot. Even in my job or just in general, people are buying these new build houses. And, then you find out the property taxes go up and things like that. But, a lot of times new build houses aren't built the best. And I've heard someone who just bought a new build house and it already had like an AC leak upstairs or something. And it's just sometimes the material is not that great, but they're just throwing these houses up. We just went to Utah and I wish I would have recorded these houses. I probably have some pictures, but they're just putting up houses everywhere, just in the mountains, just like communities full of just brand new built houses that all look the same. And I just wonder what the quality of these builds are. So it's just very interesting right now. Everyone wants a new home. Why go get that home built in 1920? Why go get that home built in 1950s, the 70s, when you can go buy a home that was built in 2024, So I would love to get a new build, but the price will have to make sense. Like, it will have to fit in within our budget. It will have to just fit within our lifestyle if we're actually going to go out here and buy a new build house.
Level, but can't maybe go into the price bracket of a new construction home.
McMansions have in fact appreciated at nearly the same rate as regular homes when looking at Zillow data. Though it's important to note that Zillow doesn't break out a McMansion from other 5-bedroom homes. The McMansion premium, or the extra money buyers are willing to pay for a larger, amenity-filled home versus another one, has fallen.
If you are stuck in the middle of the city with a large family and you're just out of space and looking for a larger home, but maybe the stuff near you isn't as affordable and the stuff that's big enough that's being built right now isn't affordable, then this is a good opportunity for you.
McMansions are less than 20% of all home sales. In Bergen County, New Jersey, one of the most sought-after real estate markets outside the New York City metro, Rubenstein says McMansions are as popular as any other house.
Those look like mansions to me. I ain't gonna lie. And I know they're $1 million up in New Jersey.
Even these houses are getting multiple offers. I bid myself for a client $100,000 over ask, and there were many offers.
100,000 over asking, and I'm hearing people having issues with that now. That bid, $50,000 to $100,000 over asking. They get the house. The house is, they have a mortgage for whatever, 100,000 over what they're supposed to. They might want to sell it. They find out it's too expensive or whatever, and they can't sell it for what they got it for, or a little bit more because they overpaid for the house. And the housing market's kind of cooling down. The interest rates are high still. The price is still high. So it's like you have to come down on the price that you're selling, but they really can't. Man,
experts say their investment value is determined on a case basis. McMansions located near cities appreciate better than ones further out in the suburbs. The desirability of the zip code matters too, of course.
If they're really far out from the city and really just like in a completely amenity poor area, then yeah, they sit on the market forever because no one wants to drive 20 minutes to go to the grocery store.
I really don't think it's about the house itself. I really think it's about, the location, buying in a place that people are going to want to buy in 5 or 10 years.
It also hinges on the construction.
Some of these large homes with large yards that need maintenance, with maybe lower quality building materials that need to be replaced, can have a higher cost of ownership than something that was built a little more.
I don't think a lot of people think about how much it actually costs to maintain a house. Like, it's not cheap. And that's why renting is a lot of times a better situation, especially if you're starting off, especially if you're only going to be there for a few years. Renting is not a bad thing because when you buy a house, you're on the hook for all the maintenance costs. So you have a washing machine that goes down, your HVAC goes down, the grass, you might be on the hook for that depending on what your rental situation is. So there's a lot of maintenance things that go in with owning a house, and I don't think a lot of people think about that. They say, "Oh, I want a house, and at any cost, by any means, I want a house." But there's a lot of factors that go in, and a lot of times you should just honestly put money aside for maintenance every month, even if you don't have anything coming up. So you might want to put maybe 20 to 30% of the mortgage aside and put that to a savings account for maintenance. If something were ever happen, you have this money aside already that's going to go towards maintenance. So factor that in when you're getting a house, that you're going to be adding 20 to 30 more percent on top of the cost that you're going to be paying for your mortgage.
I really think it's about, the location, buying in a place that people.
For everyone.
Something that was built a little more sturdy and built to last.
Some McMansions do take a price cut, as the more unique amenities like a fake river in a living room or a movie theater aren't for everyone. And any home older than 20 years will likely need repairs, yet it will be especially crucial in 2025 to evaluate just how much maintenance a home will need. New tariffs on steel and aluminum, a volatile economy.
That's it. That's McMansions. Honestly, this should be for a certain group of individuals, for a certain kind of couple that makes a certain amount of money. Like if you're making 100K, I don't know this for you, but making 200, 300K, then yeah, you might be able to buy a McMansion, just depending where you're living, I guess. For us personally, this is kind of out of our price bracket. Yes, there's some big houses that are $300,000 to $400,000, and maybe we can afford those. But I really rather not stretch the budget. At the end of the day, you have to have your investment plan, and you have to have an idea of where you want your money to go. Do you want 30%, 40% of your money going towards your housing? Or maybe you can put 15 or 20% towards housing, and the rest can go towards travel or your investments. It's all about what's important to you, especially when it comes to finances. What's financially important to you, and that's where you should put your money. If you really value having a McMansion or having a home this expensive, then go for it. But if you don't, like us, I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it. So I'm gonna go for that cheap house that doesn't take too much of my income. Gonna be nice, we can maybe do some renovations, or there's some houses out there that are nice that aren't huge. 1,500 square feet is good for us. 3-bedroom with a basement. So if someone comes over, they can go sleep in the basement. But that would work for us. And then for the rest of the money, we wanted to go travel. We really enjoyed traveling lately, and it's been a blast. So I would rather that than majority of my money going towards housing. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Would you buy a McMansion? Do you have a McMansion? And just why are so many popping up? And how are people still buying them? Hope you guys liked the video. And if you did, leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.